Good afternoon, everybody. Kevin Crouch here with South Metro Weather, and I want to show you the storms that we have right now. Let me zoom out a little bit. I thought I had a good frame here, but these are the two storms. There's a few things going on here that I want to talk about. First is these two storms. Obviously, the one that you see moving into Granbury right now, that is severe warned at this time. And then the one just on the other side of Stephenville, no warning affiliated with that yet, but I do expect to see a warning probably fairly soon for that storm. And this one near Granbury is right along, you can probably see this boundary going from about Godley there towards Burleson, Arlington, and Mansfield area up into Dallas County. This is an outflow boundary. This is bringing cool, relatively stable air. So behind it, you're feeling cooler temperatures and a fairly nice atmosphere out there, but that is kind of along this storm here. The difference is, and most of you have probably picked this up from me by now, is that when you have stabilized air, that tends to make a less fertile atmosphere for severe storms. So we had a storm in the Weatherford area that fell apart because it fell behind this boundary. So as this boundary continues, and I'll put this into motion for you here, as this boundary continues to move southeastward, or really almost due south at this point, whether this storm gets caught up behind it or keeps up with it, because it is taking kind of a right turn here, could determine the fate of this storm. Now, for now, this is a fairly intense storm. It is rotating at this time. We will have to watch that. And then this storm near Stephenville, you can see a nice little hook there. That is starting to rotate as well. That one is farther away from this boundary, and so that one has a better chance of remaining severe once that is actually issued. So let's take a closer look at these storms. Obviously, these are west of our core area. There's that new severe thunderstorm warning. So this first storm near Granbury, I want to show you just a few things. First, you've got your hook here, obvious rotation, and then you can see how it splits here. That is a pretty clear indication, just another indication of where you have this split going on. That is a pretty good indication of a supercell thunderstorm. It's just one of those telltale signs. And if we look at the velocity view here, you'll see that we do have that rotation just to the southwest of Granbury. Now, I will say it's not as organized as it was just a few minutes ago. We saw a pretty good surge of winds just south of Toller there that is headed towards Granbury, and it looked much more organized than it does right now. So that's a good sign. This boundary may be helping to kind of break that up. We'll have to watch to see the trends and see what happens there. And then to the southwest of Stephenville, broad kind of new rotation here just north of Dublin. So this storm becoming severe as well. And when we look at the VIL, that vertically integrated liquid, to see what our hail probabilities look like, plenty of hail just moving into Granbury right now, plenty of hail west of Stephenville. So two severe storms. Callie, I see your question about Whitney. We will get there in just a few minutes. So hold that thought, and we will get there, and I do see your comment there. But this storm moving towards Stephenville. Now, the National Weather Service issued this severe thunderstorm warning, and something that they have done in recent years, I forget exactly how long ago it was that this change was made, last couple of years or so, that they will add tags to these. So little details that kind of better define these warnings instead of just a broad warning. They did list they listed damage threat considerable, tornado possible. So they are marking that this storm could produce a tornado, that there is rotation in that storm at this time. So we will be watching this storm. It looks like that hook isn't quite as well defined, and we'll go back to our velocity and take another look at this. Let's wait for that update here. Should be getting one fairly quickly here. And something new you're going to see on the view here, when the radar updates, you're going to see this sweep. And if you're a Radar Omega user and you've been following all the social media chatter, you'll find out that sweep is kind of controversial right now for a variety of reasons. And we're testing it out here. So don't get too upset with me if you don't like the sweep and I'm using it and you're upset with that. Here you can see it behind my head here. And what that's going to do is that's going to sweep around and update the radar. It's not a constant sweep because we're not getting just constant updates, but it is going to sweep through and it'll update the radar instead of waiting for the whole picture to come in. It'll update it as it goes. And so we will continue to monitor these storms throughout the day. Here's that update. And I'm still not quite, I don't know. I just don't see too much organization with this, but in the Stephenville area, that does appear to be fairly, we're getting increasing winds there just north of Dublin there, and that looks like it could be a fairly decent couplet. And so we'll watch that storm as well. I know that's west of our coverage area here, but these storms are generally moving our way. If we put this into motion here, you'll see this storm is moving right into Johnson County, but it does look like this outflow boundary that now has kind of outrun this storm. And so that outflow boundary continues southward. That is stabilizing the air. And so that is allowing this storm to continue to weaken here. It does look like it's starting to trend downward. So that is a positive here. That's generally a good thing because we are allowing that storm to basically start to kind of trend downward. Now this storm near Stephenville, that hook continues, and so this storm very quickly intensifying. As it moves eastward, it continues to hold on to some fairly unstable air. We'll have to see if this outflow boundary continues to move southward. If it does, then we could very well see a situation where we see a weakening trend as these move eastward. That would not be a bad thing. That would mean that our immediate viewing area, these four counties here, Ellis, Hill, Johnson, and Navarro, would lessen our chances of severe storms. However, I will say that it's not near Ellis County, certainly not near Hill or Navarro counties yet, and so we still have quite a bit of time to go. Some good news I can impart here, and this is partially just good news for me, is we are not looking at a late night here. It looks like we should probably be done with this stuff by, I would say, 8, 9, 10 o'clock. The tornado watch that includes Johnson, Hill, and Ellis counties, that does go until 9 o'clock. So presumably by that point, the tornado threat will be over for these areas. Now, I won't be surprised if Johnson County is dropped from that tornado watch here fairly soon once this outflow boundary continues to move southward. At some point that will probably stall out, but it's an unknown factor right now, exactly where that will stall out. So we will be watching that, and that could make a difference in terms of what we see here. And I want to go back to velocity and take another look at this, and I think we may get an update here fairly soon. This near Dublin definitely has me interested here. You can see fairly tight connection between the red and green here and towards the Granbury area. I'm not seeing that as organized at this point, at least not from what I can really tell, because these are winds towards the radar. Green is moving towards the radar there. This is moving away. So it is rotation, but at the moment, that's tough because I am seeing right in there, you can see some going on a little bit, but I'm not entirely sure. It's not the kind of really classic circulation that I would normally look for. And again, when we look at reflectivity here, it's almost, yeah, I'm not extremely concerned at this very moment south of Granbury. My biggest concern is going to be just on the north side of Dublin here, southwest of Stephenville. This is where I think we have a higher probability of possibly seeing tornadic rotation. It does look like maybe that's cycling down a little bit here, so it's possible that ramped up and maybe wasn't quite able to maintain that circulation at that point. There's no tornado warnings right now. Let me make sure you understand that. No tornado warnings going on at this moment. So right now in Granbury, there's a report of 1.75 inch hail. So golf ball sized hail reported in Granbury right now. Both of these storms are rotating. This, at this point, looks generally less organized at this point. And so I'm not thinking we have to immediately be worried about a tornado there. Really, neither of these storms look imminently tornadic to me, but they are rotating, and so we will have to watch the trends to see what happens with those. And just to give a broader view here, now that we've kind of zoned in on the two storms that are going on, let's give a broad view of the entire area here. And yes, we do have this outflow boundary that is moving moving southward, really southeast at this point. And this outflow boundary is bringing cooler, more stable air to our area. And so moving towards Cleburne right now, through Burleson, towards downtown Dallas now, and towards Garland. And this is bringing more stable air. So if you are behind this boundary, you are less likely to see severe weather at this point. And so this one, as that continues to move south, this could affect this storm, because it does look to me like it's outrunning that storm. And so this one's going to be overtaken by more stable air as it moves eastward here. At least that's what I can see at this point. That's what I'm expecting. And then towards Stephenville, that is not getting much stable air. And so that is continuing to strengthen and could continue to rotate. So we will see as that moves eastward what needs to be done there. Stephenville proper, you're more of a hail threat at this point. The rotation is south of you in that area. And then Granbury too. We've already had the report from the National Weather Service here of the, let's see, that was a report of golf ball size hail. Trail Shores, Oak Trail Shores in Hood County. Between Granbury and Lipan on Highway 4, a report of let's see, that says quarter-sized hail. So that's what we're seeing there. And mostly a hail threat in Hood County right now. And then Stephenville, Erath County looking at a hail threat, as well as possibly to the southwest of there, possibly some rotation that could continue to tighten there. So let's zoom in again on these two storms. We've been talking about this severe weather threat for some time, and it's looking like if these are the only two storms we have tonight, we still have 4.5 hours, okay, until that tornado watch is out. And I think, honestly, about around then, before we're completely done with the storms, again, unless this outflow boundary just completely sacks everything and covers the entire area with outflow, then there may not be a whole lot to talk about tonight. But these two storms, we are going to need to watch the trends here. This one near Granbury, still a hail threat. This one near Stephenville, still a hail threat, still possibly some rotation on the north side of Dublin. So let's look again at velocity and kind of get an idea of what we're looking at. Still seeing some possible rotation south of Granbury there. Really not very organized though. More of a couplet going on north of Dublin here. So we will be watching this storm, and I know a lot of folks are wondering exactly where these things are headed, so let's kind of talk about that a little bit. This storm near Granbury will be moving into Johnson County. It's already starting to move into Godley towards Joshua Keene and Cleburne. That will be moving into those areas probably in the next half hour or so, I would think. And then the Stephenville storm looks like that's going to be more towards Glen Rose, Walnut Springs here. So kind of an east-southeasterly motion here. So that'll be southern Somerville, really most of Somerville County, and then northern Bosque County there too. And then we'll have to watch and see what happens after that. I don't want to project too far out for either of these storms. For one, because this storm here could be falling into some more stable air that could choke it off and help stabilize and weaken it. I can't guarantee that, but this storm farther to the west, as that outflow continues on, it could help this storm take a right turn. Now, you're also seeing here this new development near Glen Rose. That's that outflow probably interacting with this instability, giving it some lift, and developing new storms. So all of these little factors, folks, All of these little factors go into trying to forecast what these storms are going to do. This is not a 7-day forecast where I'm looking at a low pressure system in the Pacific Ocean trying to figure out where it's going to go. This is moment by moment as these little factors, multiple variables, all start kind of working together. So you have to look at this and say, yeah, okay, this could do that or it could do that. It's really kind of a race right now. As I mentioned, this is bringing stable air, which is air that is less conducive for storm strengthening. Unstable air is what feeds storms here in North Texas. So that's what you're watching here is kind of this difference. That's what took out the storm in Parker County there. It completely just knocked it out because it was more stable air. It was sinking air, it was stable air. The storm had nothing to work with. South of that outflow boundary and really across most of our area, there's plenty. You stepped outside and felt it today. That warm, humid air, that unstable air, that is what I call storm food. It's storm fertilizer, makes it grow. It's the yeast that makes these things rise, okay? And I remember there's a YouTuber that I always joke about, and I probably make this joke twice a week, but he makes Depression era baking goods. And he said one time there was a lot of flour in a particular recipe, and he said, I want the yeast to rise, not generate thrust. We have enough yeast in the air, enough unstable air to generate some thrust in these storms. I mean, it's just an absolutely perfect atmosphere for severe weather. But what I'm saying with this outflow boundary is behind it, not so much. It brings in stable air, and you can see that ahead of it, you see the radar picking up a lot of moisture, a lot of particulate and these kind of things. We've had all that haze in the air. Well, you increase the humidity, those water particles start holding in more particulate, and that's why you see the air becomes more dense. You see more and more of those particulates in the air because they're being held in by those water droplets, and that is exactly what you're seeing ahead of it, but the cool air is taking all that out. It feels pretty pleasant in Benbrook right now and in Fort Worth and Arlington because that cooler air is pushed in and it's kind of dried up the air a little bit, so it's not as conducive for these storms. But if you notice Granbury right there, my goodness, you can see that little black spot. That is a hail core that looks like it's intensifying. And so as this storm now gets caught up by the outflow, it looks like it's grabbing onto more of this instability here. So unfortunately, for Johnson County now, I do expect another warning to be issued. Let's go back to velocity because I am becoming more concerned about this. Still not seeing too much organization in terms of that rotation, although it could be an argument that, you know, we're still kind of seeing some rotating motion there. So I think there's still rotation here. It's not as organized, but this storm does appear to be intensifying. So as it moves into western Johnson County, towards northwestern Hill County, we will need to watch that very closely. Near Dublin here, I'm getting more concerned because you see this is moving towards the radar and away from the radar. Very, very clear counterclockwise motion here in the Dublin area. So I think that this rotation is wrapping up. You see the brighter colors. This radar, this is velocity model radar. This is measuring wind direction and speed. So the lighter colors are the speed of the winds, and then the colors are the direction. Direction times speed. The direction and speed together is velocity. So that's why it's called that. I know that's very basic stuff, but I just want you to know what you're looking at here so that you're aware of what is happening in your area. The National Weather Service now putting out multiple reports of quarter-sized hail, and multiple reports of quarter-sized hail, half-dollar-sized hail, and ping-pong-sized hail in Hood County. So the Hood County storm, a prolific hail producer. Hail is honestly the highest threat today. Like I said, we're generating thrift with those generating thrift. Okay, I can't even talk anymore, and we're only getting started. Generating thrust in that storm, so all of that is carrying those water droplets up higher into the storm where it's freezing, and they keep going, and the stronger the updraft, the harder gravity has to work to pull those things back down, and the hailstones get bigger and bigger and heavier until finally they overwhelm the updraft and go downward towards the ground. So that's what you're looking at. That's what you're dealing with here. We got a, looks like we got a little troll there, or a bot rather, in the Facebook chat, so we'll get rid of that. So let's keep kind of zooming out here a little bit and just kind of show you again, this is the velocity radar. Not looking at significant rotation yet south of Granbury, north of Glenrose, but I'm going to keep watching this because this storm does look to be intensifying here. And then near Dublin here, so here comes this sweep. I want to see this update. Near Dublin here, it does look like that rotation is tightening up. I saw the question earlier, what do you mean by organization? That's what I'm talking about. More organized, tighter rotation. Let's see what that update shows here. And we continue to see that. We continue to see the greens and the reds kind of starting to wrap around each other a little bit. Looks like it could be a little less organized. But to be honest with you, it almost kind of looks a little bit like we're not getting a clear picture. You can see that here through Glenrose. You can kind of see how it's pixelated here. Looks a little pixelated here near Dublin. So I'm not confident that we're getting a really good picture here. So let's check the storm relative velocity. Pretty much the same thing. I'm not getting a very clear image of that. So I'm a little skeptical of what we're seeing here. If we go to the reflectivity here, you can still see the hook. It's not quite as tightly wound at this point. And then as we go back towards Granbury here, really in the kind of in the triangle here of Glenrose, Cleburne, and Granbury, of course we do see just north of there, we continue to see that hook echo as well. And the hail threat does definitely look to be intensifying here. So let's, I've got pictures of the kiddo here on the phone, so you know I got to pay attention to that for a second. Pulling up a couple of screens here because I want to make sure I'm plugged into any updates. So let's put this into motion again, kind of give everybody a look at what we're seeing here. Here's this outflow boundary we have been talking about. An outflow boundary can both help and hurt you because it helps by bringing in stable air, which tends to weaken storms. Now, north of Glenrose, what you're seeing is looks like there could be rotation trying to intensify there again. On the end of that, that can help to turn up rotation. So again, we were looking at the possibility of this storm getting caught up in the stable air, but it does not look like that's going to happen. And then near Stephenville, I don't expect that storm to really hit any stable air. So that one has all the instability to work with, which means that storm can continue to intensify over the next several minutes here. And this outflow boundary, it's going to be interesting to see how much longer that thing hangs around. It looks to me like it's slowing down, certainly over Dallas. It's just not moving much. So I think that we'll start to see this boundary start to kind of stall here. I don't think it's going to go forever. I don't think this thing goes all the way to Waco here. I think it will stall out. I think it'll kind of start to fall apart, and you can see that here, that line kind of starting to segment. It'll start to fall apart as it loses its momentum because it was produced by a storm and it had some pretty good momentum going, but it doesn't last forever. It's going to hit that resistance. Here's that new severe thunderstorm warning that includes parts of Johnson and Northern Hill counties here. So that new warning just issued. Damage threat is destructive here. 60-mile-per-hour winds and 2.75-inch hail possible for Hill, Johnson, and Somervell counties. So the hail threat is becoming very, very much an issue here. Man, oh man, let's get to that. And I'm going to check something else here. I want to make sure that I'm plugged into any kind of information sources here. Okay, so here's what we have for Johnson County, because we're getting into our core area here, so I do need to address this directly. This storm, the primary threat with this storm right now is hail. You can see that new severe thunderstorm warning that is effective until 5:30 p.m. That is for about another hour here. That includes Johnson County, most of Johnson County, and Northern Hill County. This storm moving east-southeast, so that's the track. This outflow boundary, it's caught up to it now, going to get ahead of it. That's not going to help us here, so we pretty much need to disregard that at this point. That's going to continue to probably slow down and fall apart. So these are the two storms we have. This one, I'm watching that southwest corridor here for more rotation possible south of Stephenville. And then looks like that storm will probably stay at least mostly west of our area. We'll have to watch that one. But this storm here is immediately in our area right now. The hail threat, we're looking at possibly up to tennis ball sized hail out of this storm. And yesterday I started kind of doubting those hail sizes a little bit, and I said so on the page, but I'm being proven wrong here that the hail sizes are definitely growing quite a bit here. So we will watch this as it continues to move east-southeast. So here is that storm. Let's go ahead and zoom in on that just briefly so we can get some more communities on the map here. So it's moving into Godley. I would say the hail threat, the major hail threat we're looking at, and you can see that hail core right here. So it's moving eastward. That's going to be towards Cleburne, towards Rio Vista, towards Keene and Grandview. So really looking like probably from about where it is on east to Cleburne, and then I'm not sure it'll be that the heaviest part of that storm will be much north of that. So Keene and Alvarado and Venus, you may miss out on that. I'm not counting you out, but it does look like you may get lucky enough that this will travel south of you. But the heaviest part of the storm moving east-southeast at this point. So again, Cleburne, Grandview, Rio Vista, these are the areas I would be most concerned about. Here comes that radar sweep, so we'll see what the update is here. And yeah, so that's your hail core. So all of that, that's all the hail core here. Not seeing a whole lot in terms of that rotation at the moment, at least not on reflectivity. We got to see what the winds are doing. Yeah, I'm still not seeing much in terms of rotation here. It looks like there could be some weak, broad rotation moving into western Johnson County right now, but not too terribly concerned with that. Now, I know there are folks watching farther to the west. Here in the Dublin area, here's that other storm. It's hard to see here. Looks like we could be looking at some... Let me see here. Well, I can't get the right window open. There we go. All right, so it's kind of hard to see because I think we're seeing some distortion here. Now, the National Weather Service, they do have better radar products than I do. And so that will be an opportunity to hopefully for them to get better imagery, better information, and then we'll lean on them for any warnings or anything of that sort that we have there. And I want to check in on somebody here just briefly. Okay, all right, so yeah, let's continue to monitor this. And over the course of the last several minutes, we've seen that rotation be pretty persistent in this storm. And it's kind of on the southern end of this severe thunderstorm warning. And of course, it has a hail threat too. Again, as I mentioned, that's pretty much the biggest issue today. The biggest concern is the hail threat here. Now, I've got some folks asking about graduation time tomorrow night. Tomorrow the weather looks fantastic. In fact, I've already committed to getting quite a nap tomorrow, hopefully sometime, to try to rest from this nonstop storm business we've had. Now, I will say more showers and thunderstorms possible Sunday, but Friday, Saturday look great as far as we can tell here. But for tonight, we do have these two storms, and we do have that tornado watch that continues through 9 p.m. No tornado warnings right now. No tornadoes currently affecting our area. It's just these two storms, which are prolific hail producers. Again, tennis ball sized hail possible in this storm moving towards Cleburne right now, towards Rio Vista. That's the biggest concern here. And we've got a question about flooding there, and really I'm not as concerned about flooding tonight. Now let me qualify that by saying that we have had a lot of rain over the past couple of months. The ground is very saturated, and so in those areas where you're getting a lot of rain in a short amount of time, there could be a concern regarding the flooding issues there, at least in the short term. I don't think we see major street flooding and those kind of things, creeks getting out of their banks and all those kind of things, because we're not going to be looking at, we won't be looking at prolonged rain the way that we were elsewhere. And so that's the good news. Now, the bad news, like I said, is there are some places that are getting a lot of rain in a very short amount of time. And so that will potentially cause some flooding, at least some short-term flooding problems as you go through the evening. Now, Sunday, we have more widespread rain, looks like less thunderstorms, but at least a couple of waves of widespread rain coming in on Sunday. At least that's the way it looks right now. That could have some more flooding problems, although I'm not sure we'll be seeing near as much of a downpour situation as we saw before. But for those areas where we have seen a lot of rain, it's already saturated, and the ground really can't take much more, then yes, we could be concerned. But I will say that for those areas that don't get rain tonight, you're going to get a couple of nice days for the ground to kind of soak in that moisture a little bit more, some drier air in here. That'll certainly help as well. So overall, not a bad situation over the next couple of days, but we will be looking at more rain on Sunday. What's interesting is we're starting to see some development here in Rio Vista, and looks like possibly another boundary of some sort. We'll have to watch the trends on that. Further southwest, you see Walnut Springs, Morgan, Meridian here, maybe some more lift back towards Hyco. So it'll be interesting to see if we have new development here that could choke off these two storms and create something new. So again, this is all kind of happening on the fly, and this is why sometimes this is really hard to see what's going to happen over the next 30 minutes to an hour, because these little features, these little kind of changes that happen can really affect the forecast. And so we'll have to kind of monitor that and see what the trends are. So a lot of folks asking what's going to happen where. So let's put this back into motion here so you can see where these storms are going. East, southeast here. So this storm definitely moving into Johnson County here. Rising hail threat as this storm moves south of Stephenville, north of Hyco, really moving towards Hyco here, towards Walnut Springs. And so that will continue on into Bosque County here, could continue on into Hill County. We're also seeing some new lift from near Hyco to Walnut Springs up towards Rio Vista. And so that could end up creating some new convection that could cut off these storms from that new flow of unstable air and create a new line, a new complex of storms. So over the next several minutes, that could affect whether this storm continues on towards Itasca and Milford and Hillsborough. So again, you have these little features, these things that kind of evolve as you go. So that's why it's hard sometimes to say exactly what these storms are going to do in the next several minutes, because all this convection you see here, all this new lift, could limit this storm. This storm could be history in the next 20 minutes, and that could turn into a new storm that maybe moves more east, maybe moves more south. You don't know. So this is all happening as we go. That's why it's so hard to say, hey, this storm is going to make it all the way to Corsicana. Hard to say. That hail core is moving into eastern Johnson County. It does look to be intensifying, so let's pause the radar here. I want to focus in on this hail core here. To the west of Cleburne, to the northwest of Rio Vista here, northeast of Glen Rose, that's where we have our primary hail threat at this time. We have had reports of hail of at least golf ball size hail. The warning states that this could produce tennis ball sized hail. So there's quite a bit to be concerned about here. We have been watching kind of on again, off again rotation with this storm. At this moment, I don't imagine we're seeing much, and this new convection we've been seeing could impact that. Yeah, I'm really not seeing much, if anything at all, in terms of rotation with this storm. Now, as we go back down to the southwest in this storm moving towards Hyco, it looks like the rotation, unless it's hard to say, because we've been looking at some distortion here right in this area, kind of right where that rotation is, kind of right on the fringes of the radar imagery here. So hard to say. I would say if that was within a good range, I would say that's pretty intense rotation. But because it's farther away from the radar and we're not getting a very clear image, we're also looking fairly high up in the storm. Hard to say exactly what the surface looks like and whether that is accurate or if that's more of a distortion there. So We'll have to watch the trends on that. Either of these storms, though, are getting some gusty winds. These storms could produce wind gusts of 50 to 60 miles per hour. Severe criteria is 58 miles per hour or more. So that's what we're watching here. That's what we will have to keep an eye on. But the primary risk with these, as I mentioned, is hail. We'll go back to that hail threat there. And you can see two big gray splotches. Those are your areas of likely severe hail at this point. You get into the gray, that's when you start getting to an inch or more in diameter. That is your severe criteria. So plenty of hail in both of these storms. Again, south of Stephenville and west of Cleburne. Both of these storms moving kind of east-southeast. So you in Rio Vista and Blum, Itasca, that's going to be your area where these storms are headed. I would say Grandview as well. So if you're in Cleburne, be prepared for that large hail. If you're in Hyco, Walnut Springs, Meridian, that could be moving your way as well. So be prepared for large hail in that vicinity as well. If you are behind these storms, at this point, it really doesn't look like much is going on. You can see that little cell near Lipan, maybe one up towards west of Fort Worth there, and not really sure what that's doing. That could be trying to build into something, but overall, you see this boundary is really not affecting much now. New cell near Hyco, lots of lightning there now. New cell near Rio Vista, going to be interesting to see how that affects this storm. Could potentially merge with that and intensify that storm here. So a number of different kind of variables going on, and we'll have to watch the trends here. And really, if you've talked to me about weather at all, about meteorology, so much of that is, let me see if I'm getting it. I need to check a technical issue here. There we go. Okay. Just making sure that that everything's working here. But if you talk to me about weather or talk to me about meteorology at all, so much of it is patterns. So that's why we have to watch the trends of these storms, watch what happens over the course of several minutes or an hour to see what to expect from these things. We watched this outflow boundary and saw that it was starting to slow down, starting to fall apart. Well, now we are seeing where that storm is where that outflow is not really weakening anything. If anything, it's created new convection there in Rio Vista. So the unstable air is really fighting that outflow boundary, really fighting that stable air there. And the instability, the severe weather is winning at this point. Now, as far as this storm affecting Ellis County, I will say that it looks like if it continues this southeasterly motion, it could affect southern parts of Ellis County, Italy, Milford, if it continues on to the east. And then as we look at Stephenville, this storm looks to probably stay mostly west of Hill County. But this new convection here, we'll have to watch and see how that affects all of this. But it does look at this moment like the farther east you go, the less likely you are to see these storms. So if you're on I-45, Ferris, Palmer, Ennis, and Corsicana, looks like these particular storms, if they keep their current track, again, that's saying if nothing changes, yeah, you're probably not seeing those storms in your particular area for, I would say, at least the next several minutes here. Quite a bit of time there. So a lot of folks wondering why we're sitting here talking and there's not much going on. Well, at the moment, there's not much going on because it hasn't reached your area yet. I know there's somebody that said, there's nothing going on in Waxahachie. Last night, there were a lot of folks saying, well, there's a tornado watch issue, but there's nothing happening. Well, tornado watches and severe thunderstorm watches are issued ahead of time. They're not issued as things are going on. They're not like a warning where you see something is imminent or something is happening at that moment and then you issue it. A watch is ahead of time. That's to tell you, hey, from this time to this time, these storms are possible. So they're usually going to issue those watches ahead of those storms. So that's kind of how this works here. So Stephenville area, that storm, we'll continue to monitor that. And speaking of watches, we do have a tornado watch that includes Ellis, Johnson, and Navarro counties. Ellis, Johnson, and Hill. Does not include Navarro County at this point. Not yet, at least. So that's what we're seeing there. A lot of folks in Venus asking about that area. The outflow boundary looks like it might bring some rain to your area, but so far the heaviest storm is staying west of you. So that trend may continue heading towards Stephenville. That storm will definitely stay west of you. Looks like that's going to even stay west of Glenrose there, at least for the most part. There is a lot of new convection, though, new lift ahead of these storms, and that's moving northeast. So if this outflow boundary continues to slow down and deteriorate, that could cut off some of that southerly flow. So that southeasterly direction we're seeing with this, if we continue to see that deteriorate, we could see southeasterly winds, southwesterly rather, I'm getting my directions all mixed up. Southwesterly flow could take over and push these storms more to the northeast. But again, there's no way to predict that for sure. It just depends on what that outflow boundary does and what these storms do over the next several minutes. Reports of hail, egg-size hail, southwest of Cleburne in Johnson County. So egg-sized hail reported in this particular storm. I've never seen this before. Teacup-sized hail reported on amateur radio. 3-inch hail reported at Cleburne State Park. So teacup size was reported. That's nothing uniform, but generally 3-inch sized hail reported southwest of Cleburne here. So that's going to be where you see that black. That's going to be that very intense hail core there. And it does look like this new convection, that this storm is just going to steamroll all of that, and then we'll continue to eat up all of this unstable air that is moving through. So that's what we have here, folks. Egg-sized hail, teacup, which apparently is 3-inch sized hail reported. Again, I've never heard of that referred to that way before, but that is one of the reports that's come in. Let's see what the sweep does here. And we're still seeing some of that black there. So very large hail moving towards the Cleburne area. If I had to say, this may actually make it to the Cleburne area, because you can see it's kind of an elongated core here. So if you're in Cleburne, you do need to pay attention to this. I just got a report in the chat of pea-sized hail reported on Main Street in Cleburne. So that's ahead of all of this. That's ahead of that core where you're seeing the pea-sized hail. Now, the strongest part of that, the larger hail, is to the west. Somebody asking about driving home from Midlothian to Ennis. This storm is not in Ellis County, and it won't be in Ellis County for quite a while here. So you have a bit of time before that actually happens. Report of golf ball size hail in Stephenville, that would have been earlier. So this storm will continue to the southeast here. So Rio Vista, Grandview, Itasca, and Blum, you guys are kind of going to be the main threat here in the main kind of corridor here. And okay, that's Cook County. Watching the reports that are coming in, just making sure I'm not missing anything there. So I know a lot of you have baseball and softball and different things going on, and I will say that if you're east of I-35 West, odds are you're probably okay, because these storms are all all in. Let me just kind of give you. Well, I just clicked the wrong button there. Not quite what I need there. Let me just move. Trying to move things around. I've got a new dock here, and I'm not quite used to it being there, but it gives me important information. So I definitely want to have it there. It's just a matter of kind of getting used to it being there. So golf ball size reported in Toller. That was earlier today. So getting reports of some earlier information. So here's the storm that we've been watching. This is where we have the reports of, again, 3-inch hail. It was described as teacup-sized hail. That's the first time I've heard that. Reports of quarter-sized hail in Cleburne. That's up from the pea-sized hail. So it sounds like the hail in Cleburne is getting bigger, and I'm sure, hearing that there's reports of sirens in Cleburne. That is going to be because of the hail threat. And here's that hail core there, continuing to move towards Cleburne right now. So that's what we have, and we got a lot of folks spread out everywhere asking about driving here and there and everywhere. So let's kind of zoom that out a little bit so you can see. And I'm just about to cover that. So the sirens are sounding in Cleburne, the outdoor warning sirens. I want to make sure you understand, and this is the public messaging on this by municipalities and that kind of thing has been terrible over the years. But I want you to understand that the outdoor warning sirens, which is what they are, people call them tornado sirens. They're outdoor warning sirens, and the majority of the time, there are still some municipalities that go by the old rules, but the majority of the time, those are sounded for damaging hail, damaging winds. So there may be a certain, 80 mile per hour winds or golf ball sized hail or something like that. There is some kind of a threshold, a criteria that they set for those, primarily by the North Central Texas Council of Governments. I always use the wrong word there, but North Central Texas Council of Governments. That is who really kind of sets those standards. And so in Cleburne, in Johnson County, they will sometimes, I had a tornado warning come up, and that was for Delta and Lamar County, so that's not here. So I had to check that for a second. But these sirens are sounded for anything that could be particularly dangerous outdoors. And it's sounded for you to go indoors. So it's not there for you to hear in your house, and it's not there specifically just for tornadoes. So those sirens would probably be sounding for the hail risk, because there's hail that's been reported at 2 to 3 inch size hail. That can do some serious damage, not only to property, but it can harm a human being. So that's why they are likely sounding those sirens in Cleburne. Again, those are not specifically tornado sirens. I think Ennis is the only municipality I know of in this area that only sounds those sirens for tornadoes. Just about everywhere else that I've heard, they will sound them for large hail or damaging winds that meet a certain criteria. And again, I did mention a tornado warning, but that is far northeast Texas. So that's luckily not here. So no tornado warnings here right now. Again, the main threat is going to be this storm in Cleburne, this hail threat here. That is going to continue to move on to the east. Okay? So if you're not east of Cleburne here, if you're in Burleson or Mansfield or Arlington, it's going to stay south of you. Looks like it will probably stay south of Midlothian as well, probably stay south of Waxahachie as this continues to push off to the east-southeast. I'm more concerned with Rio Vista and Grandview and Itasca and Milford and Italy here. That's going to be the area that I'm most really concerned about. Now, it does look like as this hail threat continues to move off to the east towards Cleburne, it looks like that is beginning to kind of get a little bit smaller here. So here's hoping that the hail threat continues to maybe a little bit diminish there. It doesn't look as widespread, but it could continue to intensify as it moves southeastward. These storms, a lot of the time, you'll have them where they intensify and then they weaken, and then they intensify and then they weaken. They kind of go back and forth a little bit. So that is a trend we will be watching there. And this other storm that's headed into parts of moving right towards Hico there. So this is a new warning in parts of Hamilton and Bosque County here. Fairly large hail threat there, fairly large hail core moving right into Hico right now, moving more southeasterly towards Cransfell's Gap, Clifton, Meridian, and Walnut Springs. So that's going to be that next storm. That should, at this point, looks like that will stay at least mostly west of Hill County. We'll have to watch and make sure it doesn't, take some kind of a left turn, maybe an easterly turn here. But right now, the warning takes that moving southeasterly. So we'll watch that in the next several minutes. But the storm in Cleburne in Johnson County, let's put that back into motion so we can kind of watch those trends. It is moving kind of an east-southeast. Now, I will say that it is moving eastward, and it does still seem to have kind of a right curvature to that motion. So I'm still thinking that most of that will probably stay south of Waxahachie. I think most of that goes more towards, like I said, Grandview, possibly Maypearl here. Maybe if it continues to try to push easterly, Milford, Italy, Forreston could be more of kind of that region. So that's probably what we're going to be seeing for the most part as this storm moves in. Again, Itasca, Grandview, Rio Vista, that's the area that in the next, it really is the first in line in the next several minutes to get this storm as that moves through. And I want to make sure that I'm paying attention here. I don't see any other damage reports here, any other kinds of, looks like most of the National Weather Service reports right now are coming from areas to our north, and I'm talking Red River. So that's a good thing. Let me double check and see if there's any, I don't know if there's any storm chasers or spotters or anything on this storm right now, and we'll have to check. Just 1 second here. Wrong spot. Okay, trying to and I just cannot seem to. Okay, I apologize, folks. I'm trying to keep up with some information, and my phone is just not wanting me to not wanting to go the right direction. So let's just get back to that. I'm just going to worry about that later. So TSC, so Texas Storm Chasers. Okay, so I guess they're watching that storm, and yeah, it looks like this storm is the hail core at least looks to be maybe starting to. There's a weird block out around Milford area on Weather Center. Not sure what you're referring to there. Yeah, not really sure what you're referring to there. I'd have to see it. Still watching the National Weather Service reports, not seeing anything for our immediate area there. But so, and I somebody asked, why is it coming together like that? I assume you're talking about the new convection over in Rio Vista. So there's new convection we got very unstable air here. So that's essentially just kind of being swallowed up by this storm, because ahead of the storm you have inflow. And any kind of smaller storm there is just going to be pretty well overtaken by this much larger storm there. And I'm getting a lot of people saying, you know, and Justin, I know you want to talk about that. We will get there. we will talk about that. But a lot of reports of tornado sirens in Cleburne. Again, they're not tornado sirens. You got to remember that those outdoor warning sirens at this point in Cleburne are sounding more for the large hail. And I'm hearing that there's larger hail falling in the Cleburne area. So I'm watching the National Weather Service reports to see if we start getting verified reports of the size there. So we'll keep an eye on that. I have that dialogue up on the screen now, and I want to kind of see what those reports are. And yeah, so again, the question in the chat about the sirens, it's the same as what you call tornado sirens, but they're no longer used just for tornadoes. That's old guidance. That's old practices. Again, Ennis continues to follow those old practices, but that's not the way that they do that right now. And Jessica asking if there's any rain after this passes. Doesn't look like it. It looks like everything kind of clears out after all of this. Let's get another kind of wide view so everybody sees across the area here. Getting a lot of questions about different locations. So here's what we have going on across our area. Very large storm in Johnson County right now, moving towards northern Hill County, parts of Ellis County here, and then over to our west in Hamilton and Bosque counties here. That very large storm that's moved out of Stephenville area, you're behind the storm. Everything's going to start calming down there. You'll probably hear this storm. It's going to make some noise, but that will continue on. But no storms in Ellis or Navarro counties right now. Looks like some smaller development here in Hill County, nothing severe. You do have this severe thunderstorm warning that includes parts of Johnson in northern hill counties. Somebody asking about rotation in Waxahachie. No tornadoes, no rotation in Ellis County right now. So nothing going on for that area. Reported quarter-size hail in central Cleburne there. Let's see. National Weather Service. Still no new reports in our particular area right now. And we are just got into the 5 o'clock hour here. So the tornado watch continues for another 4 hours here until 9 p.m. So just under 4 hours for that tornado watch. Now I imagine that as this continues to move through, behind that we'll start kind of ticking off, getting rid of some of those counties that are in the tornado watch. I imagine Tarrant and Dallas counties can probably be removed right now. In fact, I'm curious to see if they have been. I'm going to try this again. Hopefully the phone will cooperate with me here. Looks like that, yeah, looks like they haven't removed anything from that tornado watch yet. But I would say in Tarrant and Dallas counties, you're probably looking at really nothing going on. I will say also that in Ellis County, I'm not really too concerned about Ellis County at the moment. Waiting to see if this storm will continue to take a right turn and just move southeasterly into Hill County, or if that will maintain some of its eastward trajectory and possibly affect parts of Ellis County. But it does look at the moment like that storm is weakening there. Let's take a look at velocity here, and I'm not seeing any kind of rotation in these storms. There might be, if there's any rotation at all in this storm here near Hyco, Cramples Gap, very hard to see there. Very far away from the radar. It kind of starts pixelating there, but just off at face value, I'm not really seeing anything. Rio Vista could see some gustier winds there, but I'm not seeing rotation at this time. So it looks like the rotation in these storms, at very least, has been taken care of. Now I'm seeing funnel east of 171 headed south. Doug, can you give me a little bit more information on your location there? Right off the face, I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to there. But if you're gonna, but I haven't heard any reports of tornadoes in our particular area, nor am I seeing any kind of well-defined rotation. So Doug Mosley reporting a funnel cloud, but he's not. I don't have a location on that as of yet, so we'll have to kind of wait and see. And this sweep here, again, that's new from Radar Omega. Still probably working out some kinks there. Doug, you're at 171 Crystal Lane. Doug, give me a city. Help me out here. Give me a city here. I don't know where Crystal Lane is. I don't know what town you're referring to there. So. Not seeing that. Now, somebody's saying Rio Vista reported rotation. So if you're talking about what other channels are saying, and I don't see any kind of rotation in Rio Vista right now. In order to get rotation in Rio Vista, we have to have both directions of wind. I see some brighter colors in Rio Vista, but that does not mean rotation. That means there's gusty winds, probably straight line winds. What I have found in the last several days is that there's a lot of people on social media, a lot of people that really think they know the weather, but they got into weather probably this season, or at least heavily, with all of the tornadoes that are happening in Kansas and Nebraska and Iowa. A lot of people getting very interested in any. Okay, I'm in the heat of the moment here. Hold on. But a lot of people that are getting into social media, weather, that kind of thing, and I'll have to take care of the kid here in a second, but that are spreading information that this is their first time covering storms, so they may not necessarily know too well what to refer to. So, I mean, they may be looking at brighter colors here and immediately think that there's rotation, but they don't really actually know what they're looking at. So, just be wary of these reports of, where you have, funnel clouds being reported, or rotation and all these kind of things. Social media has become a real big bed of chaos when it comes to tornadoes, because you've got people across the country that are watching storms in other states on radar, making all these reports, making reports of things you can't see unless you're on the ground. So you have to be very, very careful. Doug, if you want to send a message, just send a message to the Facebook page directly, and we'll try to get your picture there. But the other thing too is that, you know, you might see things that are shaped like funnels, but unless it's rotating, then unless it's rotating, it's not really a funnel cloud per se. You can have a funnel shaped cloud, but that's different than a rotating funnel. And there's a lot of differences there between just a cloud that looks like a funnel and a funnel shaped cloud. So Mandy, I'm seeing the messages you sent of like a blockage or something. I think that's just a distortion. It's not anything I would say is too confident here. Getting a lot of opinions on the messages. Granberry and pecan plantation looks like golf ball size hail reported there. Thank you so much, Chris, for that message there. But yeah, getting reports of rotation and things that I'm just not seeing. So unless I'm seeing it, yeah, I'm not gonna confirm it. You know, if we get pictures, that's one thing. But now I will say near Covington, now near Rio Vista, we are seeing these brighter colors. And again, unless I start to see inflow, which is the green colors, if we see the green inflow, then yeah, we could be looking at some rotation. But again, it takes two directions. In Rio Vista right now, I'm not seeing the inflow component. I'm just seeing some stronger winds. Now, in Rio Vista right now, we see a noticeable trend. And in that area right now is going to be probably more kind of behind the lead of the storm. So if we put this into motion here, ooh, that is terrible. Let's see if we can clean that up. Let's see. All right, see if we can clean up that imagery there, because no, unfortunately not. Okay, well, Radar Omega is just going to play with us, I guess. But I think what we're seeing here could very well be, it looks like it's along that boundary. So I think ahead of it, I think we could be seeing some winds that are probably going to start pushing out of the storm here. I think these are straight line winds. And like I say, until I start to see an inbound component, an inflow component, this is all moving away from the radar location. That's those red and yellow colors. That's away from the radar, which is up here just north of Briar Oaks. So this is all moving away from the radar. Until we see green, which is moving towards it, I'm hard-pressed to call it rotation. Now, I will say that there does appear to be a little bit of a notch there, which could indicate that some inflow is attempting to interact with that. But at the moment, I'm just not seeing anything that has me too concerned about rotation at this time. Mostly a straight line wind, especially right now. You see that this pink is near Rio Vista. So that means very heavy precipitation, probably some hail. That's a lot of downward force. What you're going to see a lot of the time with that is downward motion, downward moving air, which is a downburst or a microburst. And that's where the wind comes down out of the storm and then spreads out in all directions. So you get those strong gusty winds moving out from the storm. That's how you get your straight line winds. That's a lot of the time how you can get those sudden pushes, those sudden monsoon conditions where those very strong winds take over. Let's see what it has here for us. Yeah, I would say we may have to look for some rotation south of there, but for the moment in Rio Vista, I think we're probably looking at a downburst here, which is again going to be a quick downward push of air that will spread out in all directions. Yeah, near Covington, we're seeing that. It is ahead of that though. So we'll have to watch and see if we see the beginnings of some rotation here, because sometimes when you have that outward moving air, sometimes that will interact with that inflow. You get inflow and outflow happening, and then in the middle of that you can get rotation. So we'll watch that, we'll keep an eye on that, but I don't see any kind of rotation at this very moment right now. So that's kind of where we stand. And so strong winds are headed into Covington right now and towards Blum, but I'm not seeing imminent signs of rotation, imminent signs of a tornado or anything like that right now. And this storm is going to continue on into northern Hill County here. hearing we have a kiddo that wants his camera time here. He's a frequent flyer here on the show, so he has no idea what's going on. So he's going to have fun while we're doing this. But this storm is going to continue to move eastward. In fact, he's got you can see enough green here. You can pretty much see through him, so he doesn't even interrupt the storm. But we'll watch this moving into northern Hill County. I do think some parts of this storm, let's kind of zoom this out a little bit, and parts of this storm look like they could move into parts of eastern Ellis County, western Ellis County rather, eastern Johnson County. There's questions about advertising. Send us an email and we can answer that question later. But as you move eastward here, southeastward really, towards Itasca. Itasca is going to be kind of the next target here, in Covington, that area, Grandview as well. So that's going to be kind of the bigger concern, I think, as we go forward, as we watch all of this activity. I know you're looking for me to, yeah, that's my earpiece. He's wondering what all I got set up here. The storm farther to the west, you can see this very well-defined hail core moving right through Hyco there, just west of Walnut Springs. That storm looks to stay west of Hill County. You can see some new convection here in Hillsborough and south of Milford there. Not expecting a whole lot out of that. If anything, this storm will catch up to it and probably just absorb that. And so here's the storm as we have it. Asking you about Venus. Well, it's probably going to move mostly south of there. And we're going to continue to watch this. So near Itasca there, near Covington, we need to pay attention to this, because we've heard about this downburst, these straight line winds moving away from the radar, but the shape of the reflectivity does suggest we could start to see more inflow trying to move in with that. So that could try to create some rotation there. You can see here near Covington, you can see that kind of starting to create a little hook there. But it doesn't, at least at this moment, we're not seeing a very well-defined area of inflow here. So let's watch that in the Covington area here. It's going to have to be, it's not immediately showing anything that I'm really worried about. But in the next couple of minutes here, we could be looking at something a little more well-defined. So that's where we talk about those trends, where we want to watch to see what that does and how that develops. So I'm thinking we should probably get an update here in the next couple of minutes, and we'll watch that. We're going to have to see what the trends do, because if we start to see again those green colors, that green is going to be moving towards the radar. So moving south towards away, well, the red is away from the radar. The green would be towards the radar. So nope, don't mess with the mouse, buddy. So as it moves southward, as these winds move this way, in order to start rotating, we have to have some of those winds moving northward, moving into the storm, moving towards the radar. That's going to be those green colors. So when it comes to rotation, there's a lot of people, as I mentioned, who are kind of watching, they're covering weather for the first time here because of all, like I said, all the tornadoes that they've had up in the Midwest in that region. That has motivated a lot of people to get into weather watching and weather monitoring and these kind of things. And so, yeah, I mean, you have those trends, and whoa, baby, that is not okay. Hey, no, we don't need to be touching the camera. Well, I'm sorry, buddy, but we gotta keep me on the air. We gotta keep these people informed. He's a rough and tumbler, I'll tell you that. So we will watch this. I'm waiting for an update to come in. Yeah, no, not jumping or anything, just the kiddo messing with the camera there. We will continue to monitor this near Covington to see if we have developing rotation there, if those outbound winds are going to be met with that inflow here. It's possible that these storms, you can see some of this near Carl's Corner, it's possible that some of this could be cutting off. Get your finger out of your nose, please. It's possible that we could see some of this beginning to kind of cut off that inflow. So that could could help to limit the inflow and could help to kind of limit that rotation there. That's my hope at this point. Now there's conversations about weather modification and these kind of things, and I don't think we have time for that. But here comes that sweep. So let's see if we get any kind of inflow here. And you can still see the wind's increasing here near Covington, and you can see a bit of a cavity here, but I'm not seeing anything that really has convinced me that we're seeing well-defined inflow at this point. So I'm not terribly convinced of that yet. I'm not seeing anything from the National Weather Service on this yet. Seeing 2 miles east of Rio Vista reports of hail of quarter size. So that's going to be that hail core in the Rio Vista area. We'll get back to the reflectivity here and take a look at that. So it looks like it's past that area right now. This is where we're watching these winds. And you can see kind of that bow shape here. So that's where those winds, those outbound winds, but we're not seeing the inflow yet. So the inflow is that element that we need to see that will kind of help us to create that rotation, but we're not seeing that right now. A lot of folks in Ellis County wondering what's coming their way, so let's broaden this out a little bit. Does not look like much, if any of this, will be moving towards Ellis County. Maypearl, you'll get part of this at least, but it looks like the heaviest part of this is moving into northern Hill County. That trend will continue. If anything, we may be looking at the Milford area later on in the next 45 minutes maybe or so. It could be affecting that area, but really I'm more concerned about Itasca here and possibly Milford and Carl's Corner here as the strongest part of the storm moves its way. And okay, so there's some coughing there. Yeah, he's been dealing with some allergies. So just pardon the coughing there. Okay, so I'm getting a message here from that supposedly some of that, I guess the rotation, and I'm getting a picture from, so I've got a picture, okay, so yeah, picture of tennis ball sized hail from WBAP in Johnson County. Mayor Alejandro Galaviz sending that over, Mayor of Venus. So appreciate that information. And looks like, so Doug's saying he sent an email with the funnel. Doug, yeah, that doesn't look, and he said he's not sure if that's rotating. Doug, that doesn't look like an organized funnel to me. That looks like kind of a coincidence, if anything else. You'll have a lot of these clouds where you have a lot of motion, and so they can kind of create a funnel shape there, but I'm not really sure if we're going to be seeing any kind of tornadic rotation or anything like that. But I will say that we will have to continue to watch this developing hook here. And go watch your show. Go watch your show. All right. He would spend the entire evening in here if he could. So fortunately, though, this should be done by bedtime. So maybe I'll give him his bath tonight or something. We'll find some way to spend the time with him. But as this moves towards Itasca, I'm sure we will probably see a new warning here. This continues to move on to the southeast. Looks like the hail core is getting back together too. So we're probably seeing this storm intensify again. And I am getting more concerned about rotation now west of Itasca. And so this is going to be a little bit more of my concern. I know there's a lot of people that want to know if this is going to Waxahachie. And I'm trying to focus in where the storm is possibly developing. Folks in the comments, just let folks know that the majority of this is not heading towards Waxahachie. I think Waxahachie is starting to hear the thunder here and starting to get tuned in. And I know I got a lot of people in Ellis County that are watching, but really nothing headed towards Waxahachie. You could get some thunder and rain from this, but the heaviest part of the storm not headed that way. In fact, let me go ahead and open my kind of blind so I can see here. Not that I can really see anything, but at least it gives me an eye of what's going on here at the station, but the studio. This isn't a station. Wow, that's ambitious, huh? So towards Itasca, west of there, that's where I'm more concerned about this rotation. That's where I'm more concerned about this hail core now. That's becoming more organized here. So let's stop that. Let's get focused in. Here's that new severe thunderstorm warning. The new warning does not include any part of Ellis County here, just Johnson, part of Johnson here. No, only the old warning goes into Johnson County. So the new warning stops at, it's only Hill County. So from Covington, Itasca, down to Carl's Corner, part of Hillsborough there, and then on towards Bynum and Merten. So this is the new warning. This continues on until, let's see, that's 6:30. And this is for 60 mile per hour winds and 2 3/4 size hail. So basically tennis ball size hail, that is, for this area. Now that's the threat. That's not confirmed at this point. We've had varying reports, but I know you're hearing the thunder there in Ellis County and Waxahachie, but primarily this is going to be moving away from there. But we're definitely seeing a quickly intensifying hail core here from Covington on towards Grandview. So northern Hill County, this is where the greatest threat is right now, and you do see that deepening hook here. So here's your outflow winds. Okay, you can see those wrapping around, but again, I'm just not quite seeing that intense inflow quite yet. We do see a cavity here, so it looks like there's kind of a dry slot filling in, but I'm not seeing those stronger winds to go along with the outflow. You have to have that what's the word I'm looking for here? That correlation, I guess you would say, or that reciprocation is what I'm looking for. So takes two to tango here. Outflow and inflow. I'm not quite seeing well-defined, well-structured inflow quite yet. You can see that it's setting up though. I would say that's a dry slot starting to come in, and that could open the floodgates for that inflow to start better rotating that. So as this moves towards Hillsborough, we will need to watch that very closely to see what that does and see if we continue to define that rotation more clearly there. But this is the storm we're watching, this new severe thunderstorm warning. The main concern I have for the moment is this hail threat. Large hail possible here, tennis ball sized hail possible in this storm. That is detailed in that warning. In fact, I want to take a closer look at that warning, and you can see the damage threat destructive here. So when we're talking about that tennis ball sized hail, that can do some damage with this storm. Let's read the comments here. The tornado watch remains in effect till 9 p.m. That does include Hill County. And then the history of producing large hail. Seek shelter now inside a sturdy structure and stay away from windows. This is predominantly a hail threat with this. I'm seeing a report of quarter-size hail in Covington. So this is going to continue towards Itasca. So this is northern Hill County. Large hail possible. That is my main concern. Ellis County. This should stay mostly east of Ellis County. I'm a little concerned about Milford, possibly Italy here as this continues on to the southeast. Will kind of depend on how far southward, how far eastward this moves. Looks like it will probably move more towards Milford and Hillsborough here. So that's kind of where you can see that the warning goes, and that's kind of more of a concern. The hail looks to be moving south of Grandview there. I see that comment. Does look like that will mostly move south of Grandview at this time. So I don't think we're too concerned with that. Here comes that sweep. Let's see what that looks like here. Okay. Yeah, still seeing that intensifying hail core here. That continues to move on towards Itasca. And I do need to catch up on this because I haven't done this. Let me get, okay, so let me catch up here. Thank you to Joshua, Dawn, Amy, and Rachel for your donations on Venmo and Cash App. Those are greatly appreciated here. So thank you so much. You can see the red and the yellow and the green kind of moving into Ellis County here. If anything, you're going to probably get some rain in western and southern Ellis County here. I'm not as concerned about the severe part of this storm. That's why that severe thunderstorm warning does not include Ellis County right now. Johnson County, I will say you do have in the Grandview area possibly some hail there, not the really big hail. I think the largest hail misses you there. but possibly some hail moving into that area. And then when you look at, again, south of Venus, south of Keene there, you see this red and the green and those kind of things. You'll continue to see that move eastward, and there could be some small hail in Maypearl in a little bit, but not anything too terribly major here. I think for the most part, this is going to skip out in Ellis County. You'll hear the storm, you'll see the lightning, you'll probably get some gusty winds, but I don't think we really have too much to worry about in Ellis County. I'm getting some questions about Navarro County here. I don't really have much to give you about Navarro County at this point. Really kind of depends on where this goes over the next several minutes to see if parts of Navarro County, if anything, I would say this particular storm moving more towards far western Navarro County, maybe far northwestern Navarro County, but maybe towards Blooming Grove, possibly. I would say even that, it may stay west of there. And then Hubbard, Dawson, eventually as this moves that way, it could clip that area too. But I think for the most part, it's going to stay mostly, I think it stays west of Corsicana on its current track. And that's assuming that nothing else develops here. Now, we do have more development out ahead of this, and this happens at times. So in McLennan County, Limestone, Freestone County, southern Navarro County here. So we have some new development. None of this is severe at this point, but we will have to watch it. One of the things that's kind of concerning me in McLennan County here near Waco is this storm quickly developing, but it's not moving much. So that would be more of a flooding concern. But I will say this storm looks to be headed right towards McLennan County here, so that could move more towards Waco in the next several minutes here, could cause some problems there. But the storm we're focused on that's in our immediate area is here in northern Hill County. That's where we have that large hail threat. That's what continues to move towards the Hillsborough area here. That's where we're watching possibly some of that rotation as well. In Ellis County, really just some lightning, thunder, and some rain here. Possibly some gusty winds too. You're going to get some gusty winds kind of pushing out of this storm, but I'm not too terribly concerned right now about parts of Ellis County. Much more harmless there than what is currently moving into Itasca and towards Covington. Now, I want to take a look at velocity here. I want to make sure that we're taking a close look at that because we continue to see these winds that are intensifying here. Now, we're starting to see that green. So if we continue to see this reciprocate and we continue to see the inflow winds increase, looks like we might be actually losing some of those winds that are kind of wrapping around coming out of the storm. Could be a good sign there, but the storm itself is intensifying. So generally that means that you're strengthening that updraft. And man, there's a lot of questions in Maypearl and Venus. Folks, what I'll say about Waco or about Midlothian, man, I'm tired. Let me get a drink of water here. Let me take a pause. I'm getting ahead of myself here. I'm trying to answer too many questions at once. Maypearl and Venus area. Maybe some heavy rain, but you're not looking at the hail core here. That's going to stay south of you. Here's Maypearl. Let me get back to reflectivity here. And if I can. So here's the hail, the pink, the black, that's what we're looking at. So that's going to move south of Maypearl, south of Venus there. So that's what we're watching. This is going to move. This is south of Grandview. This is in Hill County. So Ellis County, western Ellis County, not really looking at a hail threat right now. If anything, I'm looking more towards the Milford area, Carl's Corner there, as after it moves through Itasca. It's moving into Itasca right now, but down the line. So there's a lot of folks asking about Maypearl and Venus. Not really going to do much in that area. And yeah, so rain in downtown Waxahachie, that's about all you're going to get. There's going to be some lightning and thunder in parts of Ellis County, but that's going to be about it. The severe weather for now is staying in Hill County. So that's kind of where we're at. The question of what's causing it to be so gray in Waxahachie. Well, that's the clouds off of this storm. That's what we're looking at there. Okay, dinner is served here. So that's what you're seeing. So the gray in Waxahachie, if you're just tuning in, that is the clouds from this storm. Somebody asking about Ennis, not much going on in the Ennis area right now. So not much there. And you're asking about Burleson. Burleson is behind this storm, so not much happening there. Let's take another broad look. Got a lot of folks coming in from different parts of the area. If you're behind these storms, you're not seeing much. So here's the way the storms are moving southeast. Both of those storms, and you can see the warning here. That's going to be moving southeast. So here's the storm in Bosque and Hamilton counties. That's moving towards the Waco area here. So that's going to continue to move on to the southeast. In parts of McLennan County and Freestone and Limestone County here, moving up towards Navarro County, just some thunderstorms. These are not severe at this time. The only severe storm in our immediate area is right here, and you see a lot of blow off coming into Ellis County here. That is not the severe part of the storm. The severe part of the storm here is in Northern Hill County. So here's the storm we have. I'm going to keep Waxahachie and Maypearl on the map because I know there's a lot of people asking about those areas so they can kind of see where they are relative to this. Here's the heaviest part of the hail core. You can just see that black dot there. That's going to be your largest hail. I don't see any reports of hail from this part of the storm immediately right now. And Michael, yeah, I mean, we have a lot of people that come in and they immediately ask about their town. Haven't really watched any, but I guarantee if you watch for a little bit, try to be patient with your questions. If you watch for a little bit, we'll probably address your area because I'm trying to hone in on where the most threatening part of the storm is, and then I kind of go back and forth. So I'll show the whole area, and then I'll kind of go back and forth between really getting really close into where the most damaging part of the storm is, and then trying to show the entire area. Because I know I had someone earlier ask about a very specific street in the comments. So, you know, I mean, that's just kind of what you see sometimes. But this is your area of hail, this pink and the black here. Now, the pink does not always mean hail. Let me make sure you understand that. Does not always mean hail. So that's the good news. The bad news being that in this case, it probably does mean hail. We have very strong updrafts with this storm. So just understand that that's kind of what we're watching there. And south of Covington, southwest of Itasca, headed right towards northern Hillsboro and Carl's Corner. This is the strongest part of that storm. Let's go back over to... let's get back over to the velocity here, and we still have this curvature here, these stronger winds. But again, I'm not seeing well-defined, really well-defined inflow here. So that's kind of what I'm watching for. And we don't have it yet. We do have what looks like, again, kind of that clear slot. So that's what we're watching in terms of these storms that will continue to intensify and weaken, those kind of things. So that's kind of what you get caught in terms of, let me kind of move this, I'm losing my visual here. Here comes that update, so let's see what this does. Okay, so starting to see intensifying winds here north of Hillsboro. And again, you see this clear slot, but I'm just not seeing the kind of, there's a clear slot here, but I'm not seeing any inflow that would be feeding and trying to kind of maintain this rotation. So that's kind of what we're seeing in terms of, you know, any kind of possible rotation. Let's get back to your reflectivity here. That's what I'm talking about, is you can kind of see where that inflow would be, but it doesn't look like we have sustained, consistent inflow. So that's why I'm hesitant to report too much rotation there. Still more people asking about Venus, and really it's going to be moving out of Venus very soon. So not much happening in Venus. Is moving out of there. Venus will be clearing out very soon. And yes, Haley, I know dinner's getting cold, but this is more important. This comes first. So moving into Italy and Milford right now, nothing severe at this time. There will be some lightning, thunder, and rain, but not much. There's a lot of people asking about Whitney right now. Let's try to just do another wide view here. Understand again, you jump into this stream, and if you immediately ask about your town, you're getting ahead of me. Watch for a little bit, and we'll continue to cover certain areas. And now there's just people asking about towns left and right. So I can't ever tell, like, if you're trying to just mess with me, because it seems like when I say, wait to ask about your town, that's when people start asking. But this is the whole area. Let me put this into motion here. And if there was a post I did yesterday, or I think it was really the day before, where I said, hey, here's maps of every county. So find yourself on this map, and that'll kind of help with our coverage. And so here's Whitney here. Whitney, you're kind of in between the two, so you're really kind of okay. Venus is going to be clearing out soon. Over towards Milford and Italy, you've got some lightning headed your way, but nothing too concerning at the moment. Waxahachie, just some rain and lightning and thunder there. Things calming down in Venus and Midlothian. Really, if you're in not the Grandview area, but most of our area, most of Johnson County, you're done. I mean, it's moved out of your area. You don't have to worry about anything else, so you're good. But moving into Itasca right now, we do have that hail threat continuing here. So that's going to continue on towards parts of western, northwestern Hill County here. So here's Hillsborough, here's Milford, here's Carl's Corner. Carl's Corner really probably going to be the next in line for that hail threat here. It looks like that hail threat might be starting to trend downward ever so slightly here. So that is what we see here with this storm. It's not, again, we're not seeing consistent rotation here. It's trying. It's definitely trying to. We'll look at another view here, and we do see this kind of dry slot here, kind of this empty space, this cavity there, and you do see some stronger winds, but as I mentioned, we're just not seeing the kind of consistent inflow that makes me worry about rotation with that storm, or at least intensifying rotation, any kind of tornadic rotation there. So I'm not terribly concerned about that right now at the moment here. So not really worried about that. I will also say that I know we've got some folks, let's do a broader view, because I know we got folks in the eastern part of the area who are really wondering, probably waiting for something to hit and wondering why nothing's happening. Here's I-45, so Corsicana, Ennis, Palmer, Ferris. Rice and Alma there too. So nothing going on I-45, and really this looks to be moving away from Corsicana. So not really too concerned about that. Hearing that there's reports of sirens north of Hillsborough. What I'll tell you again, and this is a good time to do the reminder, these outdoor warning sirens, that's what they're called. They're not tornado sirens, outdoor warning sirens. The standard now is to sound those where you have very large hail, damaging winds, not always for tornadoes. Now, tornadoes can be a reason to sound them, but it's not always going to be just about tornadoes. So that's just the way that works, right? So if you're getting those sirens in parts of Hillsborough, it's because there's large hail and damaging winds with this storm. Not necessarily, there's no reports of a tornado at this moment, not that I've seen. No reports of funnel clouds or anything of that sort. So we've talked about the rotation there. It is trying to rotate, but it has not been successful so far, and really hasn't been successful up to this point. We've not had any tornado warnings with this. We have a tornado watch that continues until 9 p.m. I will say that the severe weather threat has passed Johnson County here. It looks like a new warning coming out for parts of this storm in Bosque, Coryell, Hamilton, and McLennan County. So that's moving down towards the Waco area. This particular storm, this is the one we're watching. This is in Hill County in our primary coverage area here, our core coverage area. That continues on to the southwest. So we'll zoom back in here, and I apologize if I'm not looking at your town now. We will do another broad view here in just a little bit, but you can see this hook here, very well-defined hook. And I know a lot of people are looking at that, probably getting the willies here, but you look at velocity, and we have we have these strong winds, but I'm not seeing the inflow reciprocating with this. Now, has it been consistent? It has been fairly consistent trying to rotate there, but I'm just not seeing too much of that. Now, somebody asking about the humidity and saying it'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow should be fairly dry. Humidity should be fairly low tomorrow, and I think Saturday, I think at least in the morning, the humidity will probably be on the lower side. So we will have a little bit of time without the seemingly deadly humidity out there. But we're watching for this rotation, and we have one component of it. We have the outbound winds, but I'm not seeing the inbound winds that are reciprocating that. So not looking at intense rotation here west of Carl's Corner. I know that everybody sees that hook there, and it's a very well-defined hook. I mean, it's right there in front of you, but I'm not seeing the kind of intense inbound that it would take to really, truly rotate that and develop a tornado. I'm just not seeing that trend. Clearly, the National Weather Service isn't either, so they haven't issued a tornado warning at this time. I mentioned earlier how there's been a lot of people that have kind of been Monday morning quarterbacking the National Weather Service with all of these storms in Nebraska and Kansas and Iowa and up that way, Michigan, those areas. Monday morning quarterbacking the National Weather Service saying, hey, you didn't issue a tornado warning for this storm. I will say a lot of the people that are making those claims probably didn't chase storms until this year, or at least started fairly recently, and they really don't know what they're looking at. So you have to be experienced in this stuff to really know what you're looking at. And I was looking at Twitter today, weather Twitter, and just the number of people saying, hey, this is this, hey, this is that, and it's just not true. I mean, they're calling out all kinds of crazy stuff. So just be careful what you look at. Be careful what you look at on social media, because there's a lot of people that have decided recently that they're tornado experts, and a lot of them are fairly young. Now, I'm not saying that young people can't know what they're talking about. I'm just saying that they appear to be very easily confused by some of this stuff, because they're calling balls and strikes where there's not a whole lot of balls and strikes going on. So it's just, I mean, you have to be careful with what you look at social media. And I realize that I'm a social media user. I'm a social media weather guy. But, I just want to caution you that you have to be careful and selective with your sources of what people are telling you, because they're learning two things. One is that social media, weather gets attention on social media, especially tornadoes. You look at this season and it's working. Social media, it's getting a lot of attention with all the tornadoes that have gone on. And then two, they're learning that hype gets attention and money and those kind of things too. So it's just a vicious cycle. But Brittany, you're saying the game in Ennis really isn't going to get much, at least not in the near term. So doesn't look like anything is headed that way. Let me just put this back into motion so we kind of, again, have an orientation of where things are. This storm, we are seeing some more of this. We are seeing more of this heavy rain, possibly some small hail making its way into the Italy-Milford area. So this is where the storm is now. Waxahachie not affected by this storm. There may be some rain, some gusty winds there, but it will stay south of Waxahachie. There's going to be quite a few clouds from this. So yeah, you're going to be getting cloud cover, but of course cloud cover doesn't immediately mean the storm's going to get you. So there's going to be a lot of cloud cover from this. There's going to be some lightning, thunder. You're going to see the lightning from quite a ways away. And so Itasca, that's where the hail is right now. That's going to continue on to the southeast. So moving towards Carl's Corner, that area, and then on from there. So that's kind of what we're watching for in terms of where to expect that. You probably see the hook here. We've been watching it attempting to rotate. It's been having a hard time doing that, hard time maintaining that. And so we haven't really had any kind of concern there. Let's see. Yeah, a lot of asking about this place and that place. So not really seeing anything to be too concerned about in this storm. And there is a storm headed towards the Waco area. We'll kind of broaden this out and check in on that storm too. Neither of these storms have tornado warnings right now. I know that, again, as I mentioned, social media, there is, you can take a drink every time someone asks about a town not in the path of the storm. That would make for a crazy night, quite a crazy night. So the storm in Johnson County, parts of Ellis County here, that's one. And then this storm in Bosque County, that's two. Bosque County storm moving towards the Waco area here, and then the Hill County storm moving towards parts of Hill County, parts of western Navarro County here. And so that's what we're watching. That's where we have to be concerned. Now, I will say that this is starting to kind of expand eastward a little bit, and so some of the heavier rain, possibly some very small hail, moving towards Bardwell and Abilene there, but I doubt that makes it all the way to Ennis. And let's pause this here, and I just want to show you that if you are behind this activity, looks like there's one storm near Granbury there, and then, but I'm not expecting any kind of severe weather here. Okay, just reading some comments here from the National Weather Service there. Yeah, so it looks like in the Italy-Milford area, you're getting some heavy rain and lightning and thunder right now, but that is definitely not the severe part of the storm. Severe part of the storm is still west of our area, still west of that area at least, in Hill County, continuing to move to the southeast. They will need a new warning here probably. I highly doubt this is below severe limits, so they will need a new warning going into parts of Hill County. They may include parts of western Navarro County here pretty soon. You can see that part of the warning back behind the storm in Bosque County has been canceled. So again, this is headed towards Waco. So let's continue this moving into the Waco area here. So that's that storm. No tornado warning. No tornado warning there. Just again a hail threat. Hail is really the main concern with really all of these storms right now. So yeah, Lauren, you're asking, also wondering if the DFW area might be done for the night. DFW area looks done. They really didn't have to put up with much. So DFW, the Metroplex is done for the night because I don't see anything really happening there. And a lot of people saying that this is better than the news. Well, I appreciate that. Thing is, the news coverage, they have to cover a very large area. So I have the kind of the advantage of being able to just focus on 4, 5, 6 counties. So that makes the job a little easier, right? So I have kind of an unfair advantage in a competition there, if you will. But at the same time, they have a much better budget than I do. So this is not near as detailed as what they can provide. But we do what we can. And Rhonda, you're right. I mean, DFW has a whole lot of TV channels, but I mean, who knows if they're even broadcasting right now because everything is south of here or south of the Metroplex. So they're probably not live right now, I would imagine. Thomas, you're asking, so should we be okay this evening? I'm not sure where you're talking about. If I know a location to reference, then I can tell you. But you know, that's kind of where we're at right now. This storm just north of Hillsboro, the section of that storm that's trying to rotate here, it keeps trying, but if you watch it, it's kind of keeps collapsing on itself. And the colors are switching around here, and I think the radar's having some issues. Frankly, it just keeps going back and forth. And I mean, it could very well be radar Omega 2. They just recently made an update, so a lot of the time, those updates are rough on it. You know, they kind of make some bugs there. But I will tell you that it's tried to rotate here and just has not been able to maintain that circulation. So I'm really not very concerned about any kind of rotation there. Yeah, here the colors are a little bit back to normal, but I'm just not seeing any kind of circulation there. Nothing that has me too terribly concerned. Yeah, I'm not too worried about it. Not too concerned there about rotation. Now, moving into the Clifton and Cramples Gap area, not seeing too much rotation there either. Nothing that's immediately got me worried, but that'll continue on to the Waco area. Again, probably just a hail threat at this point. We'll get back to the vertically integrated liquid if it'll let me here. Yeah, so plenty of hail in both of these storms. So Milford, Hillsboro, Carl's Corner. That is where we have this hail threat at the moment. That's where you see the gray. That's going to be your hail threat. So that continues on to the southeast. And then from South Meridian on into northern parts of, I believe that's Coryell County there, west of Clifton, south of Cramples Gap, that's your other hail course. So that's moving into McLennan County here towards Waco. And again, somebody asked about Ennis. Nothing headed to Ennis right now. If there's not a storm, we'll put this back into motion, kind of give you a broad view of the entire area. Nothing really headed towards Ennis. Looks like it's going to stay west of Ennis for the night. Could be some heavy rain moving towards parts of Navarro County, mostly on the west side of I-45 there. I will say that there are winds picking up in Waxahachie right now, so that's going to be some outflow winds. You're going to have plenty of that. But if you're behind these storms, you should be done for the night. There's a little bit of something in Granbury there. I don't expect that to do much. That really won't do a whole lot at all. And so softball-sized hail just past Itasca. So we should be getting a photo now. Let me go ahead and check for those and see what we have. And then I also need to say thank you to, let me get caught up on this. So Deborah, Pamela, Katie, Wendy, Denise, and Sandra, thank you so much for your donations on Venmo and Cash App. Those are, let's see, those are greatly appreciated is what I'm trying to say there. Let me get over to the messages here, try to see. Okay, so we've got some, I'm getting a lot of pictures of, okay, let me see. Trying to get through some messages here. A lot of messages coming in. A lot of pictures of the Mamadas clouds. So that's those Mamadas clouds are what look like bubble wrap essentially from the bottom of the clouds there. And that is, you have updrafts, and then eventually that can only go so high. So sometimes when you get those winds that are coming back out down, it's going downward, so it's going to kind of cause those little bubbles, right? So that's what Mamadas is. Nothing to be concerned about. They look really neat. So getting a lot of pictures of those. I'm sure you're seeing a lot of that out there on the underside of the anvil. So when these storms, they hit the stratosphere and they spread out, right? Look like a big mushroom or an anvil. You're going to see some of those little kind of bubbles, little fingers coming out of the underside of that. That's that Mamadas. So that's what causes those. Trying to asking a lot of wind gust questions, a lot of wind direction and speed gust questions. So wind gusts, I would say in Mertens area. So your wind gusts, in the storm itself, you could be looking at wind gusts of 50 to 60 miles per hour. Could be up to 70 in some places, but I think 50 to 60 is most likely. You could see wind gusts of 30 to 40 miles per hour further out of the storm, just in terms of the outflow that is coming out of this, but nothing too terribly concerning here. And thank you, Joshua, for your Cash App donation. Greatly appreciated there. And continuing to get messages here, trying to keep up with some of the pictures and things. Looks like some tennis ball-sized hail, possibly tennis ball-sized hail in the Itasca area. So still a prolific hail producer in parts of Hill County here, and then looks like this is starting to shift a little eastward here. So I want to take a moment here. Let's take a look at this. And you can see the hail core starting to kind of stretch northward here. So this may be a rising concern for the Milford area. Not too sure about Italy, but we'll watch this because it looks like that could be extending a little bit northward there. So you could see a rising hail threat for the Milford area that's moving into Carl's Corner now. So we'll monitor this here in southern Ellis County, moving towards Mertens and Frost. So this could be moving into parts of Ellis County here. We'll watch that sweep come back. Unfortunately, I started right in the wrong spot, so we'll have to wait for that to come back and update the radar here. So Milford area, Mertens, Carl's Corner. We're going to be watching that area for the large hail here. And the hail has been really the worst part of this storm at this point. getting some pictures of hail in the Carl's Corner area. Thank you so much for that, for those pictures and that information. Greatly appreciate that. So here's that update. And so, yeah, going to continue to move to the southeast here. So Carl's Corner mostly, could be some small hail in Milford. Looks like things are going to mostly start kind of slacking off in Italy there. Reports of baseball-sized hail in Itasca. So updated hail size to baseball size. So and that's part of the National Weather Service here. So yeah, baseball size and golf ball size hail reported in Carl's Corner, and then baseball size hail reported in Itasca. So still a very prolific golf ball size, even baseball size hail producer. So hearing there's a lot of dark clouds everywhere. That tracks. I mean, you're going to get some pretty dark clouds out of this storm. The very, very dense clouds that are cutting out that sunlight that's already dropping away. So yeah, not surprised that there's a lot of dark clouds here. Looks like we're getting some rain moving towards Bardwell, over towards Rice and Alma there, towards the Ennis area. But the severe part of the storm so far is staying in Hill County and staying within the confines of that severe thunderstorm warning. So that's what you're seeing there. I want to try to get a status update on the tornado watch here, see if any of that has been cut back. And not yet. National Weather Service hasn't done anything with that tornado watch yet. So, I mean, that even still includes the Metroplex. I'm not too sure why. I assume, I guess, I don't know if they have something they're watching or what, but they haven't shaved back any counties from the tornado watch yet. Tornado watch continues until 9 o'clock, so just under 3 hours from now, that tornado watch expires. But if you're behind the storms, you should be fine. Tomorrow morning, you're going to feel that it's going to be much nicer outside. Should be more dry, less humid, that kind of thing. Hannah Gale, should I put my car in shelter in Ennis? No, because this storm is not headed to Ennis. We put this back into motion here so that you can kind of see, and we'll put this broad again just so you can see in relation to you where this storm is moving. And so we have the hail in the Carl's Corner area right now, just moved through Itasca, had reports of baseball-sized hail there several minutes ago, and looks like most of this is missing Hillsborough at this point. And yes, so here's that new severe thunderstorm warning. This is, and I'm hearing that there's winds in Ennis, so yeah, you're going to get outflow winds here. That is not part of the storm necessarily. That is just the winds coming out of this storm. Strong winds within the storm, so that's going to naturally, you're going to be picking that up downstream here. But the new severe thunderstorm warning, including parts of Hill and Navarro counties. So let's kind of zoom in on that so you can have a perspective there. Here's the storm: Malone, Penelope, Hubbard, Dawson, Frost and Mertens, and Bynum. This is the new severe thunderstorm warning. That severe thunderstorm warning continues, and everything just got pushed down. Let me get back to this dialogue here. That continues for another 56 minutes. So that continues until 7 o'clock. So until 7 p.m. for that severe thunderstorm warning, we'll look at this, and you do have increasing winds in Bynum. Again, this is where we've been seeing this storm try to rotate. It hasn't had much success so far. But the farther south it moves, the more into the warm sector, the warm side of this, and into more unstable air it goes. So we will have to continue to monitor that. Different reports of hail here, different reports of different things going on. So yeah, so Itasca reports of quarter-size hail there. So a lot of variation in hail size reports here. You're going to see that. And really the way that's handled is you report the largest size of hail that you see. So if you're watching a hailstorm and you see a whole bunch of pea-sized hail and a few quarter size, you might get one or two ping pong size. You report the largest size. So that's how that's reported there. So that's why you hear a lot of variation. You're not usually going to see a situation where every hailstone is the size of a baseball. I mean, if it was, that would be an absolute hellscape, or hailscape, I guess. But when you're looking at these storms, that's what you're watching for, is that largest size hailstone, because there's usually going to be quite a bit of variation there. But I want to make sure you understand this storm going to continue to move on to the southeast. Now it does look like most of that will stay west of Frost, west of Blooming Grove. So Kayla Fox 4 said rotation spotted near Carl's Corner. It's going to be south of Carl's Corner. It's going to be where you see that hook there. But again, I will say that the rotation is at this point looks minor. It's been trying to rotate. It hasn't really been able to maintain rotation. It's pretty broad, disorganized rotation that I can see at this moment. And so I'm really not as concerned, I'm not too concerned about the, sorry, I was reading a comment, lost my train of thought, but apparently there's a cow pushed off the road in Italy, in the Italy area. So there's not flying cows, but apparently there's stray cows out there somewhere. So if you're missing a cow, talk to Allie there, I guess. So here comes the sweep. We'll see what update this gives us. So again, we have gusty winds here south of Carl's Corner in the Bynum area, but I'm just still not seeing that reciprocating inbound, at least not enough to be too concerned at the moment. So that's what we're watching there. So Fox 4, apparently, I guess that's Dan Henry up there talking about possible rotation there. I'm sure he's looking at that hook. But for this very moment, I'm not too terribly concerned about that there. Trying to get the phone to cooperate with me here. I'm sure the phone is just blowing up here. So I'm trying to kind of keep up with all the messages that are coming in here. So a lot of conversation, and that's good. That gives us information, gives me information. And more questions about Whitney. So not expecting hail in Whitney. I know there's a lot of thunder there, and the thing is that there's going to be a lot more. There's going to be a lot more people getting lightning and thunder than are actually going to get the storm, because you're going to see the lightning and hear the thunder quite a ways out of the storm before anything happens. Now, in the Lacey Lakeview area, we do have that storm, which is intensifying, and it's been raining pretty heavy there for kind of a while now. And so, to be honest with you, we could be looking at a flood problem there in McLennan County. So that's kind of more of the issue there for the moment that I'm seeing. And of course, we have this storm moving into McLennan County here, severe storm in southern Bosque County there. So that will continue to move out to the southwest. And then this storm is the one we're watching. This is in our main broadcast area here, our main coverage area of Ellis and Hill counties, Ellis, Johnson, Hill, and Navarro. That's our primary coverage area here between Dallas and Waco here in north central Texas. I know there's sometimes we get people from all across the country that are wondering, but that's our primary coverage area here. So southern Ellis County, northern Hill County, parts of western Navarro County going to be under the gun for this particular storm. No severe weather expected in southern Ellis County right now. So, reports of, so it sounds like reports of hail, 1.5 inch hail in, it says Hillsboro, but Carl's Corner. So it's Carl's Corner, north of Hillsboro, where we had that, had that going on. And it looks like we've got a lot of people jumping in from Waco. So we'll talk about Waco here in a moment. But this is the storm where we're mostly concerned. This is right in the heart of our coverage area, our 4 counties here. So let's take another look at this storm. We'll let the sweep complete its run here. Okay, so looks like the top of this storm starting to kind of retreat here. So not seeing the kind of spread that we saw a minute ago of the heavy rain there as that moves towards Bynum. And we'll look at velocity, see if we can get an update there. I'm still, and Tamara, you're saying your channel 25 app radar looks different. Well, it's probably a different. It's a different. It's a different software. Not all radar programs are the same software, so that's probably why it looks different there. Really, honestly, a lot of them are using the Weather Channel's API, so a lot of the apps are all going to look the same as far as the station apps and that kind of thing, because they're usually mostly using the Weather Channel's API for that. But we're using Radar Omega here, so it probably looks a little different. Yeah, looking at the possible rotation here, and there's been a lot of back and forth about this, and we're just a couple minutes away from this scan, so it'll be a little bit before we get anything new. But as I've been saying with this, we are seeing some gusty winds in the Bynum area, and they do appear to be kind of wrapping around a little bit, but I haven't for a while, I haven't seen the kind of reciprocating inbound winds that seem intense enough to make me worry about any kind of possible tornado developing or anything of that sort. So I'm really not worried about tornadoes at the moment in southern Hill County. The National Weather Service may see something different, but it doesn't sound like it. They haven't said anything to that effect yet. Haven't mentioned any kind of confirmation of wall clouds or funnel clouds or anything like that. We had a picture of a funnel cloud, of an alleged funnel cloud sent earlier. Probably wasn't anything. Probably just a kind of a scary looking cloud out there that wasn't actually doing anything. Probably not rotating. It's hard to see in a still picture, but odds are it probably was not rotating. We didn't see any rotation that was corresponding with that. And someone even said it was on the backside of a storm. Would have been pretty unlikely to see that at that point. But this is the velocity view. We're looking at these winds, looking for signs of rotation, and I don't immediately see any kind of signs of rotation with this. So not really too big a concern here for me. We can hang on here and see if we get a new scan. I don't imagine we're going to get a scan here anytime in the next, it'll probably be a couple of minutes, 2-3 minutes from now. And I don't know if we want to hang around that long. Let's see if there's anything. Yeah, okay, here we go. So we got a new scan coming in, so we'll see what this does to update the radar here. Yeah, I'm just not seeing any kind of consistent, really strong inbound, winds to create rotation here. So not really concerned about rotation in this particular storm. Let's get back to the reflectivity here. Yeah, I'm not seeing any kind of anything that really concerns me about rotation here. Looks like the hail threat has moved south of Ellis County at this point. Things will start calming down soon in Milford and Italy and Carl's Corner there. So you're kind of on the backside of this storm now. So things will continue to move through. And tornado warning, Western Llano, that's way out of our coverage area. So no tornado warnings in our particular area. And Pamela asking about, do we have confirmation of big hail near Malone or Bynum? And I haven't seen confirmation necessarily. I mean, if you and Mike, I'll get on that soapbox here in a minute. But as far as big hail, I mean, it's definitely possible in this storm. I don't have any reports of hail that kind of size from the National Weather Service. Last report in Hill County I have is quarter-size hail in Itasca, but I don't have anything too confirmed here. And somebody asking, what kind of weather app do I recommend? I recommend using Radar on Radar Omega. What you can do if you want the forecast, go to the National Weather Service, go to weather.gov, put in your zip code, and then when you have your local forecast, you can put that on your home page, your home screen on your phone, it's just right there, and it will act like an app. It'll go to that website. It'll go through your browser, but that's going to be the most reliable forecast. That's a human-made forecast. That's not an automated forecast the way it is with the AccuWeather and WeatherBug and all these kind of things. So that's just kind of where things are now. So Christina, you're saying a severe thunderstorm warning in Midlothian. I doubt there's a severe thunderstorm warning in Midlothian because there's nothing happening in Midlothian. So no storms going on there at the moment. So I'm not seeing a severe thunderstorm warning in the Midlothian area because there's no storm there, no severe thunderstorm, right? So nothing imminent in that area right now. So across our area here, just another broad view here, we're going to get another scan from the radar. Nothing really happening in Yeah, Christina, I don't know what WeatherBug's doing, but there's no tornado or no severe thunderstorm warnings. No warnings of any kind, actually, in Midlothian right now. So I think WeatherBug might have a bug. For Ellis and Johnson counties here, not much going on. Southern Ellis County, still some heavy rain there for parts of Milford and Italy there, but you're going to be calming down very soon. In Hill County right now, we still have this severe storm. Looks like that hail core is intensifying there, and then over in far western Navarro County here could have another little hail core. We've had varying hail sizes from quarters all the way up to tennis ball size in this storm. I would say they're probably on the low end at this point. And so this storm moving to the southwest, we have another storm from Gatesville on close to Whitney there, really not moving through Whitney. Whitney's going to start calming down fairly soon. I know there's a lot of noise there, but this storm will be moving towards the Waco area. In Waco proper, you do have a severe thunderstorm warning that has been issued there for parts of really the northeastern quadrant of McLennan County here, or well, McLennan County there, so really the southwestern quadrant, if I can get my lines right here. Southwestern quadrant of McLennan County, or really it's crooked. So I would say, let me just say eastern McLennan County, from Waco on east there, really almost from 35 on east, but that storm has not moved much, and so I'm more concerned about flooding in this area right now, but that's kind of what we're seeing there. So here's one storm, here's another, and here's another. Those are really the three storms. We have one west of Meridian that's kind of developed here, and it's not, I don't expect this to do too much, but we'll be monitoring that over the next several minutes to see what that does, but not expecting much out of that one right now. So the most intense storms right now are the ones in Hill and Navarro counties here, kind of in between the two. This one in southern Bosque, northern McLennan, northern Coryell counties here, and then parts of eastern Navarro County. So these are the three areas that I'm watching. These are the three storms that we have here. All three are moving southeast. And so Johnson County's done. Ellis County, for the most part, is done. Hill County, if you're behind these storms, you're done. Whitney, Hillsborough on north, this is all kind of moving out of that area, right? And so that's what we're watching in terms of where things are going. I'll put this into motion so you can see that as well. But lots of folks asking about, where's this, where's that. Here's the map, and I definitely recommend, if you don't know where you are on the map, I definitely recommend keeping yourself updated about that. Now, Johnson County, I will say, has been removed from that tornado watch. Tornado watch continues for Ellis and Hill counties here. So I'm not really sure why Ellis County is still in it, but Johnson County has been removed from the tornado watch at this point. And I'm going to check and see if there's any more updates here. Thank you to Joshua, Kimberly, and Jose for your donations through Venmo and Cash App. Those are greatly appreciated, as always here. Okay, I think we're good there. So, yeah, I mean, there's really nothing going on behind all of these storms. There's the one in the Meridian area. I'm not really sure what that's going to do or how long that's going to last. I don't imagine that is going to do too much here. That could move towards Whitney, but it looks like that's going to be one of these storms that swells up and then quickly probably weakens. And Shara, I can't really speak to Louisiana. That's kind of far out of my area, and it would be really hard to kind of say what's going to happen there without going way far ahead here. So honestly, not really sure what to tell you about Louisiana. And Jessica, you're asking, is 45 going to be clear by 7? Well, I don't know. I-45 is a very long highway. I'm not really sure where on 45 you're talking about. So I can't really help you there. But looks like for the most part it's going to stay west of 45. And Keller, yes, this should be the only wave of storms for tonight. I don't really expect much behind this. And then tomorrow's going to be a nice day. Friday will be a nice day. Saturday will be nice. I hope you'll come out to Cops and Kids picnic from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in Waxahachie-Gedstonator Park. I will be there meeting and greeting folks. So if you want to shake my hand, say hello, that's going to be the best place to do it. But this storm continues to move towards the Hubbard area here. We'll zoom in. Again, this is the only storm in our immediate coverage area here. So this is where we can see kind of two possible hail cores here. Obviously the stronger of the two in Hill County here, headed towards the Hubbard area. One of those just to the west of Blooming Grove there, headed towards Dawson. So this is that storm. I know a lot of people are watching this hook here. We have not been able to, that storm itself has not been able to hold a lot of rotation here. And as we see, I'm not seeing a lot of reciprocating inflow. So I'm not seeing a lot of inbound winds, those kind of things. Not too terribly concerned about that. So still not concerned about rotation with that storm. There could be some very broad rotation, but not seeing anything that has me really concerned. This severe thunderstorm warning, including Itasca and parts of Hillsborough, that should probably be allowed to expire. I would say that's probably, going to expire in the next 9 minutes. They can probably cancel that early there. But this particular storm looks like this could be getting a little bit more easterly motion. It's getting a little bit smaller, so that could allow it to kind of move a little more easterly there. So, okay, pea-sized hail, some nickel and Navarro mills. Yeah, so this is where you're seeing that moving into Navarro County here. And I'm curious to see how this moves, because it looks to me like we're getting some more easterly motion here. And you can see it's kind of blowing off, and that's some of the winds shearing here, some of the upper level winds blowing from the southeast, kind of pushing this storm easterly a little bit, but it's not really been able to move that much. But the severe thunderstorm warning, the severe part of the storm should pretty well stay within those bounds, headed towards Hubbard and Dawson there. So that's where I'm really the mostly concerned. Not really concerned with Corsicana. I think it stays west of there tonight. Should stay west of Corsicana for the most part. You may get some, lightning and thunder and gusty winds and maybe some heavy rain there in the Corsicana area, but that should probably be about it. So the severe thunderstorm warning has expired for Hill County. That's going to be that. You saw that just fall off there. So that's what happened there. Not raining or fast winds and frost. So now it's saying there's not rain and frost right now. I will say that there probably should be rain and frost right now because it's at least getting the backside of this storm. So I would say it's unlikely that it's not raining and frost. I guess it's not impossible, but there's probably at least some moderate rain there. A lot of people repetitively asking if there's more tonight. I think these are so folks in the chat, if you'll just let people know when they ask, this should be all the storms for tonight. So there shouldn't be anything else going on. So not hard rain. So that's okay. So the lighter rain and frost is what's being referred to there. Just let folks know in the comments that there's not anything really behind all of this that I can see. There is this storm near Meridian that isn't really doing a whole lot, so I'm not expecting much from that. That could make its way towards Whitney, but not too terribly concerned there. But this storm is really the only storm in our immediate coverage area. There's some flooding issues, I think, going on probably in eastern McLennan County here. You can see how this rain has just been sitting here this whole time. And but behind all of this, the severe weather threat has pretty well ended in Ellis, Johnson, and most of Hill County here. I would say for southeast of Hillsborough here towards Hubbard, that you still kind of have a severe weather threat with that storm. You see that's been kind of cut back here. This storm remains severe, but if you're behind it in Hillsborough and Whitney there, probably not much going on there. Now, Jaden, in the comments, you're hearing a lot of thunder. Just because you're hearing thunder doesn't mean the storm is near you or headed your way. So that's, again, that can kind of be the difference here. It's just you kind of have to pay attention to where things are going, what's happening, because as it gets darker, you're going to see more lightning, and you're going to hear more thunder. But you know, you can't let those kind of determine what your expectations are for these storms. So here's what you have. I'm going to step out of the way here. You can kind of see across our area what's going on. There are a couple of storms in Bosque County there that keep kind of popping up, but don't seem to be doing a whole lot. So these two not doing a whole lot there. I'm not expecting a whole lot out of them. Let me just make sure I'm all caught up here. Okay. Yeah, so looks like we're caught up there, just making sure. This storm is severe. It's going to remain severe probably as it continues into parts of southeastern Hill County, western Navarro County, and that is moving southeast. Looks like Corsicana will miss out on the severe part of this storm. It is clearing out there in Hillsborough. Watching these storms in Bosque County to see if those can clip parts of Hill County. Not expecting much out of those, though. Pretty good storm moving into McLennan County here, which McLennan County, parts of McLennan County to the east of Waco, already seeing plenty of heavy rain and some hail there. And then this hailstorm moving into the western part of the county there. So McLennan County going to get quite a bit of activity here in the Waco area. And then super thunder and lightning in downtown Corsicana. Yeah, you're seeing that from a distance, but it looks like the Corsicana area, you should stay mostly out of this activity, at least the heaviest of this. The severe part of that storm does look to stay west of Corsicana there. So we're going to continue to watch all of this activity. That storm really going to be the last of it. I will say the tornado threat, I think, is quickly deteriorating for this area. I know we've got somebody asking over and over about Blooming Grove, so we'll zoom into this storm again, but as you can see, it's moving out of Blooming Grove, so things will be calming down in Blooming Grove soon. People asking about Bardwell and Italy, it's already clearing out there, so you're on the back side of the storm. That will be it for tonight in that area. So a lot of questions about places that fortunately are clearing out of really Ellis County at this point. Ellis County, you're pretty well out of the woods in terms of the severe weather threat for tonight, as far as what I can see. Yeah, so asking about Midlothian. Yeah, Midlothian, you're done for the night. Again, we'll just kind of do a broad view here, and I'm really not concerned about anything behind these storms. Those two thunderstorms in Bosque County here that could be headed towards the Whitney area, not severe. Could be some lightning, thunder, heavy rain there, but really not much. Not really concerned about that. So that's what we see here. Really, the next area that needs to be concerned is if you're in McLennan County. There's quite a bit of active weather there. In Freestone and Limestone counties here too. Nothing severe for those areas, but definitely some heavy rain. It could be some concerns about flooding, as you just kind of have heavy rain just sitting in that same area there. But this storm will continue to move to the southeast. I'm going to take a quick moment to step away here, grab a bite to eat. I got to sustain myself here. I will be right back with continuing coverage of these storms. For the most part, the severe weather threat is subsiding, but we will have to continue to monitor that storm in parts of Hill and Navarro County. We'll be right back here at South Metro Weather. All right, well, we are back, and I just needed to take a quick breather. We've been on the air for almost 2.5 hours now, and I needed to take a quick break. But we are back with live coverage, and there's really not much going on in our immediate broadcast area here. Of course, our main coverage area is Ellis, Hill, Johnson, and Navarro counties there. There is this storm in southern Hill County. It has been a prolific hail producer so far, and it's been trying to rotate here. It's held on to a hook echo, but hasn't really been able to hold on to rotation necessarily. Now, as we get into parts of eastern Navarro County, there may be some small hail in that particular area as well, but really not much aside from that. There is a severe thunderstorm warning that goes for the next several minutes. Let's see how much time is left on that. About 24 minutes left on this severe thunderstorm warning now. Moving into McLennan County here, that's where we have a couple of things going on. A large severe thunderstorm here, that also has been a pretty prolific hail producer. And then east of Waco on through Limestone and Freestone counties here, just very stationary heavy rain here. And that's really going to be more of a flooding risk for these areas. We will see if maybe these storms can kind of help to give a little bit of push to these storms, or if that's just going to remain stationary there. So we'll watch this storm moving through parts of Hill and Navarro counties here. That's eventually going to be moving into northern Limestone and northern Freestone counties there. So that will move out of our particular area. There are some showers behind this, just little things here and there, little thunderstorms, little splotches that are popping up, but I think the air over our particular area has been worked over enough, has been stabilized largely to where I don't think we have to really be too worried about that. If we broaden the view here, really broaden it out, you can see this storm that was talked about earlier, north of Fredericksburg in the Llano area. Here's our particular area, and then north of us, one last storm near Paris, maybe one popping up east of Rockwall there, but really not much elsewhere. So once this storm moves out of Hill and Navarro counties here, that will be it for the night for our particular area. Now, I mentioned that this storm has been trying to rotate. There's been a lot of chatter about rotation in this storm. Any rotation we had was fairly broad, and it's pretty well stayed that way. When this storm was over parts of Erath County, there was some more intense rotation there. It's held on to, at very least, some weak rotation, but really hasn't done a whole lot. You can see Hubbard, Dawson here, some greens and reds, but it's just not been able to hold on to that. We've had a lot of, strong winds, but it hasn't been able to reciprocate with that inflow. So that's kind of what we're seeing there. I think as this storm gets closer to all of this activity in Freestone and Limestone counties, that's really just been stationary there east of Waco. I think that could kind of start to fall apart because it's definitely been working over the atmosphere there, and probably just going to kind of get into some, I would say, very much more stable air, and just not be able to do a whole lot beyond that. So I think that will pretty well end this storm's story. It'll probably just become part of this complex that, as I say, is unfortunately bringing a lot of heavy rain and possibly some flooding there. So here comes that scan and that update. We'll see what that does. And some increasing wind speeds there, but again, just not seeing any kind of reciprocation with inflow. And that will be harder and harder for that storm to do as it gets closer to all of this to the south. And it does look like that storm is starting to kind of fall apart a little bit, starting to weaken some, which again, I think will continue as it moves on to the south. And that severe thunderstorm warning for about another 20 minutes there may be allowed to expire early if it, I think it's probably going to be out of that box in the next 20 minutes here. So that will be allowed to be ended. I think, Michaela, we just covered Limestone County, so let's cover it again. Here's what we're looking at in that particular area here. Limestone and Freestone counties, we are looking at just heavy rain, some hail there. Really the biggest concern is flooding, because you can see that this whole complex is just not going anywhere. It's just really not moving very much. Very, very heavy rain staying in those areas. And so that's become my chief concern here. This severe thunderstorm moving out of Bosque County into McLennan County here and Coryell County. So Bosque County, that warning could probably be shaved back and really closed out for Bosque County there. You're pretty well out of the woods for that. Still some thunderstorms there, but not really much, not severe weather. The last severe storm in our area, as I said, here in parts of Navarro and Hill County. And then, like I said, Limestone and Freestone County and parts of McLennan County and south of there. Just a big hail situation, a big rain situation here. So unfortunately, just mostly stationary. It looks like this storm north of Marlin might be getting some forward progress, but really not a whole lot. So that's kind of a bummer for those areas after we had so much flooding going on in so many of those areas. So the last storm we have right here in the Hubbard and Dawson areas, that's going to continue to move on to the south towards Coolidge, towards Wortham, towards Mejia here. So parts of Limestone and Freestone counties here. So that'll continue to move on to the south. And we'll take a look at the vertically integrated liquid here to take a look and see what the hail threat looks like right now. And yeah, not seeing any kind of immediate indications of severe hail for the moment. Probably some smaller hail, pocket change hail, maybe some, maybe some pea-size hail, dime-size hail, maybe up to nickel size, but not really seeing much hail. Definitely not seeing anything in the severe realm, I don't think, at this point. We've had everything from tennis balls to baseballs. I've even seen a report, after report from this storm back in Johnson County of softball size hail. I mean, that is really large hail. That we had a very unstable atmosphere today, so that is not a surprise at all. But we were able to stay away from any of the tornado warnings. Now I want to check up on the tornado watch, see how much of the area is still included in that. So Dallas County removed from the tornado watch. I'm still waiting for Ellis County to be removed from the tornado watch, even though Ellis County is done for the night. So nothing going on. Brittany, we were talking about the softball size hail over in, it was either Southern Johnson, Northern Hill County, that area, quite a while ago. So yeah, that was quite a while ago. That's not currently. But again, I'm still waiting for Ellis County to be removed from that tornado watch. Expecting Navarro and Hill County to be removed soon as well. Once this storm moves out, really that will kind of end the severe weather threat there once that storm moves through. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. I'm going to wrap up the coverage here. Of course, I will continue to monitor and bring updates as needed. But once this storm moves out of the Hubbard and Hubbard and Dawson area here, and it could be Devon, yes, no more storms for Midlothian. Dawson and Hubbard here, so that's really going to be the last of the severe weather, I think. That'll continue to move on to the south again towards Coolidge, towards parts of Limestone County here. So this is moving out of Hill and Navarro counties very soon. There's the last of that severe thunderstorm warning. That has been kind of closed off there. So, but that storm appears to be weakening here, and I think that may continue as it moves towards that wall of activity in Limestone County there. So thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to wrap this up. I will be posting more updates on South Metro weather, of course, especially on that Facebook page as we go through the evening if there are updates. And then tomorrow, nice weather. Saturday looks nice as well, and then more rain possible on Sunday. Thank you so much for watching.